everybody, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and today we are here to talk about choices. Some of them difficult, some of them somewhat easy, if there's such a thing as an easy choice. But anyway, there's many choices when it comes to entrepreneurship, and today we're going to talk about the effect that they have on you, your family, your friends, and just everything in your environment.
I like that. You know what I'm choosing right now?
What's that?
I'm choosing to say, let's go!
This is Mikel-Claire.
And this is Trey.
And we are the couple of entrepreneurs. We're here to share with you our journey of successes and setbacks as we enter the world of entrepreneurship now that we no longer have 9-to-5s due to the new normal of the world and the pandemic.
Join us as we race the clock to start earning money, gain consistency, and overcome self-doubts and uncertainty as we search for our voices and obtain personal and financial growth.
Have you made some difficult choices along this entrepreneurial journey?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's difficult choices and unexpected choices. I think that's the big one for me. It's those choices that are going to either make this process easier or the choices that are going to make this process way harder than it should be. The first thing that comes to mind is the choice of the company you keep regarding this. I think there's a saying that's passed around a lot, and it's that you are the average of the 3 or 5 people you hang around the most.
Okay.
So if you want to become successful in your endeavor, it would be seemingly smart to find other people with an entrepreneurial spirit or a hustler spirit or something that is pointing in that direction of moving forward.
I definitely agree. I think if you're hanging around somebody who wants to say, not that there's anything wrong with playing video games, but if you're hanging around people that want to play video games all day, sitting around eating pizza and drinking beer, not that there's anything wrong with beer, but there's a time and a place for that. And there's a way to get your mind right, get your mind focused on what it is you're doing. And if you're around other people that are focused on making moves and researching and learning and making money, then those are the people you want to be around, because those are the people that are going to motivate you to want the same type of things.
This is how I know there's some growth that's happening, because you said if you want to sit around people that play video games all day long, and I was like, oh, that's a shot across the bow, because I love video games. It's hard. It's hard, but that goes into the choice. You got to pull up your big boy britches and be like, okay, I can't sit here and play Call of Duty, or I can't sit here and play Madden all day long. I'm not saying you need to give it up completely, all the way, all together, just go cold turkey.
I agree.
But you absolutely need to prioritize the amount of time that you spend playing something like that as compared to, could I be using that same time to make my business better, to make my body better, to make my habits better? And unfortunately, the people that you hang around that love playing Madden and Modern Warfare all day, they're buzzing you and texting you and saying, hey man, we need you. I got a brand new M16 I want to use. I got a brand new playbook I want to use. And you've got to tell them no. And that's difficult.
No, exactly. It's not going to be necessarily an easy decision, but you have to prioritize. You prioritize what it is that you're willing to sacrifice in order to get to where you want to be. In every choice you make, every decision you make, there's a sacrifice.
Yes.
So you just have to be willing to decide, hey, maybe an hour of video games today, maybe during double XP, you can play your video game today. But then there's a point where you got to say, all right, I got to make my business and myself a priority.
It's true, because I'm sitting here staring longingly at my PlayStation off in the corner, just getting more and more dust, because it's looking at me like, we used to be homies, man. What happened? You don't come over no more. You don't play. What's going on? You've abandoned me. But you know what? That abandoning feeling, it's funny in terms of thinking of an inanimate object like a PlayStation or an Xbox or whatever your gaming system is. But then there's dealing with real people. I have a group of friends that I adore and love. I love dearly, but they're just in a different frame of mind. They're not on the same path that I'm on. So me spending a lot of time with them is going to deter me from the path that I'm going on. I want to be clear when I say this. I don't think your friends' intentions are to intentionally hurt you or to intentionally stop you. I think your friends are just so involved in their own life that they're not willing to see things either in your way from your perspective that you want to go a different path, or they just don't understand what it is that you're trying to do. So they may take a type of offense to you limiting the amount of time that you spend with them.
Like we said, that's just a decision that you have to make. You have to prioritize, is my business and this journey the main focus for me right now? And it doesn't have to be forever. Mm-hmm. It could be just in the initial phases, or it can be in building the foundation and the groundwork. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's not something that you have to decide forever. Like, I don't have to not play Call of Duty forever. I could play for an hour on Wednesday, or I can schedule it into my time if scheduling is something, that's important for you in order to stay on track. So, I mean, you don't have to give up friends altogether. Right. It's just being able to make yourself and your business a priority.
Yeah.
You had talked about friends, but let's talk about family. Let's talk about self. When you're making hard decisions, there's people that you're affecting. They're the people that are actually in your household. They're the people that raised you, that may have some ideas about what it is that you're doing, or not understanding exactly what's taking up so much of your time. Like, what do you do in regards to making decisions about that?
That's very difficult, because the closer they are to you, and those typically the people that you spend the most amount of time with. And that could be a brother, a spouse, a boyfriend, or whoever it is. It's a lot easier to kind of turn the volume down on casual friends than it is a loved one. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to make the attempt, at least the attempt, to explain what it is that you're doing. If you're just cutting somebody off that's that close to you and that beloved, and you don't explain it to them, then of course they're going to be offended. Of course they're not going to get it. Mm-hmm. Of course you're going to be the enemy in their eyes, because they just don't understand. Mm-hmm. I think as the future entrepreneur, current entrepreneur, it is worth it to explain in great detail what it is that you're doing. And when I mean explain your vision. You can't explain to them the techno jargon and babble of the intricacies of your business, because they're not at your level, not level of intelligence. They're just not at your level of the hustle. And everything that you're spitting to them, the nuances of the business, they're not going to understand. But if you can explain it in terms of vision and say, listen, I have this idea that I want to bring my family and even you along to live a better life. If I go down this path and I stick to it, I can have more time, more money, more influence to make everything better. Talking broad, sweeping, general terms with vision as the core of it, as the foundation when explaining to people that are that close to you.
Well, again, I think too, based off of what you're saying, I definitely agree. I think communication is the most important thing in regard to sometimes having to be like extremely selfish. And when I say selfish, I don't mean it in a bad sense in this regard, because it does take being selfish in your time. It does take being selfish in, sometimes your thoughts, because you're not always present. So I think explaining that to people, say, hey, today I have 30 things on my task list to do, and it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take hard work and focus for me to get through this task. But you know what? Let's plan maybe tomorrow to have like a special dinner. So I think balance is key, but there are a lot of times where you're going to have to be extremely selfish, and you have to communicate that, or else you might lose out on, some of your relationships.
That is a huge, huge point of uncomfortableness that I'm glad you talked about. And that is, it's okay to be selfish. It's not okay to be a jerk.
I agree.
Okay. What we're talking about when we're saying being selfish is understanding that the best way to achieve your goal is to focus on your personal needs in order to get to the goal. being selfish with your time, giving yourself the necessary time to understand, the time to implement your strategy, being selfish with your emotions, because you have to be in a good mental mind state and focused in order to get where you need to be. Being selfish with your money and your finances. That means you might have to skip out on bowling night with the fellas. You might have to skip out on a couple of movies or buying that pair of Jordans because you need to be selfish and focus on the needs of your vision. If that bare minimum isn't received to focus on yourself, you are not going to have the necessary tools to move forward.
Okay, so we're talking about this ideal situation where, hey, you communicate with your dad or your spouse or your brother or someone, hey, I need this time for myself. I need to focus on my business in order to have it succeed or even to give it a chance at succeeding. What would you suggest for those people that they put it all out there and it's just completely rejected and not received by the people in their life?
It's a lonely lifestyle because you're thinking differently than 95% of the general population. I think people are more scared of understanding that you're doing something that they may not have gotten the courage just yet to pursue. And people fear things that they don't understand. A lot of times, what is going to happen is you are going to have to just keep walking. Give those loved ones all the best well wishes that you can. But if you spend too much time trying to convince somebody that the path that you're going on is worthy, then they're stealing from you time.
I hear what you're saying. I definitely agree. I think that those relationships, either they're not hearing what you're saying about what your vision is, like you had mentioned before, either they're not listening to what it is that you need in order to be happy and successful. Maybe they're not focusing on their own happiness and successes, and so they may kind of fault you for being able to follow your own journey. So I think, like you said, you can only allow it so much energy, and then you just got to do what you got to do for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality.
It's uncomfortable.
It is.
Here's another one that's a little uncomfortable. I think a lot of growth starts with your body. How do you feel about the choice to get healthy?
That's a very good question. I think health is definitely something that's necessary in order for your mind, body, and spirit to be in a good enough place to even start this journey. And definitely not only to start it, but to stay the course. It takes a lot of long nights. It takes a lot of mental clarity. It takes a lot of physical energy in order to even start the journey. But in order to stick with the journey, you have to really be in a good place of health. I mean, it's just essential. The good thing about creating health is that it allows you to already have good habits. It allows you to already understand consistency. It allows you to understand that it takes hard work to get your body in shape. And that can also feed over into your entrepreneurial journey.
We were watching this, we might be dating ourselves a little bit, but we were watching a documentary on Bruce Lee last night, as a matter of fact. And he had said something to me that kind of rings true with entrepreneurship, and even more specifically about getting your body together as kind of like a base. And he was saying that if you throw a pebble into a lake, that is going to create ripples that are going to keep expanding until it fills the entire lake. And in terms of getting your body right, I think it is a good example of setting the tone, because it takes a regiment, it takes discipline, it takes a schedule, and all of that stuff ripples into the routine of getting up in the morning to get your schedule ready for your workflow. It goes into maintaining the proper mindset. It gives you clarity. It makes you less tired in the morning so that you can have the energy to do long days.
That brought up another question for me. So we're talking about self-care, basically. We're talking about creating time in order to make sure that your temple is in the necessary state of health in order to be on this journey. So how do you make the choice to add that to your schedule on top of everything else that you're trying to do, on top of the list of tasks that you have? Where does that fit in? How do you make the choice to add that to everything else that you're dealing with?
Well, just like that PlayStation and the Xbox, you can't sit there and just play Call of Duty and John Madden football or whatever it is all day long. You got to cut something out in order to make time for other things. If you want to maintain the same sleep schedule, then that means you are going to have to make some choices between 1 o'clock p.m. and midnight where something's going to have to get cut out. Be it hanging out time with your friends or whatever it is that you do, you need to make time. Or you can do the difficult thing, which I personally struggle with, and that's get up earlier. Go to sleep earlier so that when you wake up earlier in the day, you can have more time. Here's the thing. You get so much more benefits from getting your body right first because you'll have a clearer mind. You'll have more time because you're sleeping better. It's a gift that keeps giving. So go ahead and sacrifice the time Netflixing and watching Thursday night football or basketball or whatever it is. Just go ahead and sacrifice it to give yourself more time in order to achieve your goals. And I think that's a pretty good place to put a pin in it. You know me. I love my pins. I've got like a big pin cushion and I pull them out at the end of the show and I stick them in the microphone.
Pins and brass tacks. We have them all over the house.
This is a good one. And we're talking about all these hard and difficult choices, but I want to say thank you to all of you for making the choice to listen to us.
And now we are going to choose to end this podcast.
Yeah. If you can see me, I'm choosing to lift these 2 fingers in the air to say peace out.
Peace out.